The story begins in Toronto, Canada, a cold city with warm hearts and hidden dreams. Imagine a young boy named Aubrey Drake Graham, growing up in a small house where music floated through the air like oxygen. His father, Dennis Graham, was a drummer for Jerry Lee Lewis. His mother, Sandy Graham, was a teacher with a gentle soul, fighting health challenges but always holding the family together. From the very beginning, life wasn't perfect for young Aubrey. His parents split when he was just 5 years old, leaving him to live with his mother in a modest Toronto neighborhood while visiting his father in Memphis whenever he could. Drake once said, "I grew up with two worlds. My mom's world was very Jewish, very intellectual, very careful. My dad's world was music, energy, and a little chaos. This split upbringing shaped him, gave him two sides of a coin, one sensitive, one hungry for adventure. School wasn't always kind to him, being one of the few black Jewish kids in a mostly white school. Drake often felt like an outsider. He was bullied for his looks, for his background, and sometimes even for daring to dream bigger than everyone else. But he didn't let that break him. Instead, he found comfort in performance. At just 15 years old, Drake took his first big leap, auditioning for a TV show that would change his life. Degrassi, The Next Generation. He landed the role of Jimmy Brooks, a basketball star who later becomes paralyzed after a tragic shooting in the storyline. For years, Drake played Jimmy, learning discipline on set, learning how to perform under pressure, and slowly finding his voice. But while acting was paying the bills, his heart was somewhere else, in music. When everyone around him saw him as just that kid from Degrassi, Drake saw something different. He would spend late nights writing lyrics, recording tracks in his room, dreaming of stages much bigger than a TV studio. The world didn't know it yet, but Drake wasn't just an actor. He was quietly preparing to be a game changer in hip-hop. A Canadian kid daring to step into an American-dominated rap world. This was the boyhood chapter, the chapter where pain became fuel and rejection became motivation. The leap from TV star to rap dreamer. The cameras stopped rolling. Jimmy Brooks, the character everyone knew from Degrassi, had finished his scenes for the day. But Aubrey Drake Graham wasn't done. The real Drake was just getting started. He would leave the set, head home, and shut himself in his room with a cheap microphone, turning his thoughts into rhymes, his feelings into verses. But the transition from TV actor to rapper wasn't easy. People laughed. "You a rapper? You're the kid from Degrassi," they said. Drake heard it all. The criticism, the mockery, the whispers that he'd never be taken seriously. But he didn't argue back. He just worked harder. He dropped his first mixtape, Room for Improvement, in 2006. It didn't blow up. He followed it with Comeback Season in 2007, a better, sharper project, but still, the world barely noticed. Imagine putting your heart into something, releasing it to the world, and being met with silence. It hurts. Drake felt that sting, but he also felt something else. Hunger. And then came the moment that would change everything. Drake dropped his third mixtape, So Far Gone, in 2009. Songs like Best I Ever Had and Successful hit the internet like a lightning bolt. People started paying attention. This wasn't just another actor rapping. This was a voice unlike anything they had heard. Vulnerable yet confident, melodic yet powerful. Even hip-hop giants started noticing. Lil Wayne, one of the biggest rappers in the world at the time, invited Drake to join him on tour. For Drake, It felt like a dream. One day he was in Toronto, unsure if anyone would ever listen to his music. The next day, he was standing on stage in front of thousands, spitting bars with one of his idols. But even then, the road was not smooth. During that tour, Drake famously tore his ACL on stage, collapsing in pain. It could have been the end. A serious injury, a rising career, everything at risk. But Drake didn't quit. After surgery and rehab, he came back even stronger. This was the turning point, the moment Drake stopped being that kid from TV and started being Drake, the rapper. The world was beginning to watch, and he was just about to show them how far he could go. When the world finally listened, the buzz around So Far Gone was impossible to ignore. What started as a free mixtape became a cultural moment. Blogs, radio stations, and fans couldn't stop talking about the Toronto kid who made heartbreak sound like poetry. The industry had a choice: keep doubting him or admit that Drake was the future. In 2010, he released his debut studio album, Thank Me Later, and the world finally listened. The album debuted at #1 on the Billboard 200, selling nearly 500,000 copies in its first week. Songs like Find Your Love and Over weren't just hits, they were statements. Drake wasn't just a rapper, he was creating a whole new lane, blending singing and rapping in a way that felt fresh, emotional, and real. But success came with pressure. People wanted to know, was Drake a one-hit wonder, or was he here to stay? Instead of crumbling, Drake doubled down. In 2011, he dropped Take Care, the album that turned him from rising star to superstar. It was dark, introspective, and brutally honest. Songs like Marvin's Room and Take Care connected with fans on a personal level. Suddenly, Drake wasn't just making music. He was speaking for an entire generation that was learning to embrace vulnerability. This was the era where Drake began to shape hip-hop itself. He wasn't afraid to rap about feelings, heartbreak, loneliness, and doubt, topics that traditional rap often ignored. Critics called it emo rap, but fans called it relatable. And the numbers didn't lie. Take Care won him his first Grammy Award, solidifying his spot at the top. Still, it wasn't all smooth sailing. The fame was intense. Paparazzi followed him. Tabloids wrote about him. And every lyric was dissected online. Drake learned quickly that fame could be lonely. That success came with its own kind of pain. But he kept going, kept turning those feelings into music. From Toronto basements to sold-out arenas, Drake had gone from being doubted to being undeniable. And this was only the beginning, because Drake was about to stop chasing hip-hop's crown and start building an empire of his own. And a star became a kingdom. By the mid-2010s, Drake wasn't just a rapper, he was the pulse of pop culture. Every year brought a new wave of music that dominated the charts and set trends. In 2015, he dropped If You're Reading This, It's Too Late, a surprise mixtape that felt like a declaration of war. It was raw, confident, and aggressive. The sound of a man fully aware of his power. Tracks like Energy and Know Yourself became anthems. And suddenly, Running Through the Six with My Woes was being shouted in clubs and arenas worldwide. But Drake wasn't done. 2016 saw the release of Views, an album that took Toronto's sound global. One Dance became his first #1 single on the Billboard Hot 100, dominating radio in every country. The album stayed at the top of the charts for weeks, breaking records and proving Drake could rule not just hip-hop, but all of music. Around this time, Drake's brand became bigger than just music. He signed massive endorsement deals, launched OVO, October's very own, as a lifestyle brand, and turned his annual OVO Fest in Toronto into one of the hottest music events in the world. The kid who once felt like an outsider was now building a kingdom, a place where his city, his culture, and his fans could all feel like they belonged. But greatness attracts challenges. Drake faced public feuds, diss tracks, and endless internet debates about whether he was the realest rapper alive. The most famous clash came with Meek Mill, who accused Drake of using ghostwriters. The hip-hop world watched closely, expecting Drake to crumble. Instead, he responded with Back, a diss track so powerful it was nominated for a Grammy. It wasn't just a song, it was a message. Drake wasn't going anywhere. This was the era where Drake became untouchable, the artist who could drop a single and break streaming records overnight, who could set trends with a single Instagram post. He wasn't just making music anymore. He was shaping culture. And yet, behind the bright lights and trophies, there was still the human side of Drake, a man searching for balance between superstardom and solitude. The man behind the spotlight. As the world crowned Drake the king of the charts, the man behind the spotlight was still figuring out who he really was. Fame had given him everything: money, mansions, platinum records, but it had also magnified his loneliness. In interviews, he admitted that sometimes the silence after a show was the loudest thing he heard. The cameras saw confidence, but the man in the mirror still wrestled with doubts. In 2018, Drake faced one of the most personal chapters of his life, the revelation that he had become a father. For months, he kept it private, protecting his son from the chaos of fame. But when rapper Pusha T exposed the news in a diss track, the world suddenly knew about Adonis. The internet buzzed, critics talked, headlines screamed. But Drake handled it differently than many expected. He didn't hide. Instead, he embraced the moment, confirmed the news in his album Scorpion, and proudly stepped into fatherhood. I wasn't hiding my kid from the world. I was hiding the world from my kid, he explained. The line became one of the most quoted lyrics of the year, a glimpse into his protective, vulnerable side. Becoming a father changed him. Suddenly, the late nights in the studio had a new purpose. The music wasn't just about topping charts anymore. It was about building a legacy his son could be proud of. Drake shared moments of Adonis' life with the world, slowly letting fans see the softer, human side of the man they had put on a pedestal. But personal growth didn't mean slowing down. Drake kept breaking records, becoming Spotify's most streamed artist, holding the most Billboard Hot 100 entries of all time, and dropping hits like God's Plan that weren't just songs but cultural moments. The video for God's Plan, where he gave away nearly $1 million to strangers, went viral, showing that beneath the superstar image was a man who hadn't forgotten the value of giving back. This chapter revealed Drake's evolution, not just as an artist, but as a man. He was no longer just chasing greatness. He was learning how to live with it, how to carry it, and how to turn it into something meaningful. The legend who refused to slow down. By the time the 2020s arrived, Drake had already accomplished what most artists could only dream of. But he wasn't done. In fact, it felt like he was just getting started. Every time people thought they had seen his peak, Drake reminded them that his climb had no ceiling. He dropped Certified Lover Boy in 2021, an album that instantly became a streaming phenomenon. It debuted at #1, breaking records on Spotify and Apple Music within 24 hours. Tracks like Way to Sexy and Girls Want Girls turned into instant memes. Proof that Drake wasn't just dominating music. He was dominating culture itself. But it wasn't just about numbers. Drake had mastered the art of staying relevant. He could drop a club anthem one week, a soulful ballad the next, and a gritty rap freestyle after that, and all of them would trend. The world didn't just listen to Drake. They watched him, quoted him, and lived by his lyrics. What made this era fascinating was how Drake balanced superstardom with authenticity. He didn't shy away from showing the ups and downs, heartbreaks, trust issues, betrayals. Songs like Fair Trade and Champagne Poetry gave fans a peek into the mind of a man who had it all but was still searching for something real. That vulnerability kept him human, kept him relatable, even as he became one of the most powerful figures in entertainment. Drake's collaborations also became legendary. He worked with everyone, from Future to Bad Bunny, from Travis Scott to 21 Savage, crossing genres and borders, blending sounds and cultures. Each time, he proved that he wasn't just a rapper from Toronto anymore. He was a global icon shaping music on a worldwide scale. Awards kept piling up. Record after record fell. Drake became the artist with the most Billboard Hot 100 top 10 hits in history, surpassing even the Beatles. The kid who was once told he didn't belong in rap was now rewriting rap history. And yet, through all the trophies, Drake never acted like the job was finished. He stayed hungry, stayed restless, always plotting the next move, the next album, the next verse that would have the world talking. The empire of OVO. Drake had already conquered music, but his vision stretched far beyond the recording booth. He wanted to build something that would last longer than chart records, a legacy that would outlive even the hottest hits. And that's where OVO, October's very own, transformed from a simple nickname into a full-blown empire. What started as a small crew of friends became a powerhouse brand. OVO Sound, Drake's record label, signed and developed some of the industry's most talented artists like Party Next Door, Majid Jordan, and DVSN. Together, they created a unique sound that blended R&B, hip-hop, and moody production, a sound that became Toronto's musical fingerprint. But Drake didn't stop at music. OVO became a lifestyle. The iconic owl logo started appearing on hoodies, sneakers, and exclusive collabs that fans lined up for overnight. The annual OVO Fest in Toronto became a pilgrimage for music lovers, a celebration of not just Drake's success, but the city that raised him. Business moves kept stacking. Drake became a global ambassador for the Toronto Raptors, turning the NBA franchise into a cultural phenomenon. He was their courtside, hyping the team, turning moments into memes, and giving his city a voice on the world stage. When the Raptors won their first NBA championship in 2019, it felt like a victory for Drake too. A full-circle moment for the kid who once dreamed about putting Toronto on the map. He also stepped into tech and investments, partnering with companies like Apple Music, launching Virginia Black Whiskey, and making strategic moves that proved he wasn't just an artist but a sharp entrepreneur. Every deal, every collaboration was carefully chosen to build the Drake brand bigger and stronger. And yet, for all the money and influence, Drake kept the heart of his empire grounded. He stayed connected with fans, fans, stayed present on social media, and reminded people that OVO was more than business. It was about family, loyalty, and never forgetting where you came from. This was Drake at the height of his power, not just an artist, not just his celebrity, but a visionary shaping culture, music, and business all at once. Reflections of a king. Even at the pinnacle of success, Drake never stopped reflecting. He often spoke about the sacrifices, the heartbreaks, and the lonely nights that had shaped him. Fame had brought him everything he could have dreamed of: awards, records, and worldwide recognition. But it had also tested him in ways few could understand. Drake had learned early that life wasn't a straight line. Rejection, failure, and criticism were constants. He had faced doubters when he was a teenager trying to drop mixtapes, endured ridicule when he transitioned from actor to rapper, and survived public feuds that could have destroyed lesser artists. Each challenge became a lesson, each setback a stepping stone. He often reminded fans that sometimes losing is the best way to find yourself. Personal growth came with parenthood, heartbreaks, and quiet moments away from the spotlight. Drake showed the world that vulnerability wasn't a weakness. It was strength. In interviews, he admitted the fear of letting down his family, the pressure of maintaining relevance, and the constant quest to be more than just a performer. Fans saw glimpses of the man behind the superstar persona: a father, a son, a friend, and a dreamer who never gave up. His music became his diary. From heartbreak and Take Care to the playful confidence of Certified Lover Boy, Drake documented the highs and lows of his journey. Every album, every verse, every chorus carried a lesson: resilience, patience, self-belief. He taught fans that life could be messy, unpredictable, and painful, but it could also be beautiful, rewarding, and transformative if you refused to quit. Drake's reflections weren't just about himself. He inspired a generation to embrace ambition without shame, to speak their truth without fear, and to turn struggles into fuel for greatness. He proved that you could rise from humble beginnings, face setbacks, and still reach heights you once only dreamed of. In a world obsessed with instant success, Drake remained a reminder that the journey mattered more than the destination. That every failure, every tear, every lonely night had a purpose, shaping the person you were meant to become. As Drake's story unfolds, it becomes clear he isn't just a rapper, a businessman, or a celebrity. He is a living testament to perseverance, authenticity, and the relentless pursuit of one's dreams. The legacy of dreams realized. Drake's journey is more than a story about fame or music. It is a blueprint for ambition, resilience, and self-discovery. From the streets of Toronto to sold-out arenas around the globe. From a bullied teenager to a father, a mogul, and a cultural icon, Drake's life shows that greatness doesn't happen overnight. It's forged in the fire of struggle and relentless determination. He leaves behind lessons that go far beyond the charts. One is courage, the courage to follow a dream when everyone else doubts you. Drake didn't listen when people said, "Stick to acting," or "You're too soft for rap." He trusted his instincts, took risks, and never allowed fear to define him. Every mixtape, every verse, every experiment in sound was a small rebellion against doubt. Another lesson is resilience. Drake has faced setbacks that could have ended his journey. Failed albums, public criticism, injuries, personal betrayals. Yet, he turned each moment into fuel, never settling, always striving for the next level. He demonstrated that success isn't about never failing. It's about refusing to stay down when you do. Drake also teaches the power of authenticity. In an industry full of masks, he showed the strength of vulnerability, talking openly about heartbreak, loneliness, fatherhood, and ambition. His honesty connected him to millions of fans worldwide, proving that people crave truth, even in a world that often celebrates perfection. And perhaps most importantly, he illustrates the value of legacy. Drake didn't just chase hits. He built a brand, nurtured talent, and gave back to his city. OVO became a home for artists, a celebration of Toronto, and a symbol that dreams can be bigger than you imagined. The music, the business ventures, and the cultural impact are all reminders that true success multiplies when shared. For anyone watching, Drake's life is a call to action, to chase your dreams relentlessly, to embrace failure as a teacher, to stay true to yourself, and to build something meaningful that lasts beyond the applause. In the end, Drake isn't just a rapper, a mogul, or a father. He is proof that when talent meets determination, when passion meets discipline, and when dreams meet action, the world bends to those who refuse to give up. His story will inspire generations, a living testament to what it means to rise, to evolve, and to leave a mark that will never fade. Drake's life is the ultimate reminder. No matter where you start, the heights you reach are limited only by the courage to believe in yourself.